For the next couple of months, I'd have to forget I was Dan Adams. From now on, my name was Carl Sears, and I had a passport to prove it. Jim Hastings, a government agent, had given it to me. Jim was an old friend. That's why he'd come to me with a job he wanted done.
And here are your first mate's papers. I'm sure with your Navy experience, you won't have any trouble.
I'll manage.
Something bothering you?
This whole thing bothers me, Jim. I think there must be an easier way to get Joe Cask back into this country. So many things can go wrong in an operation like this.
You know, there's a pretty slim margin for error in this thing.
Slim is putting it pretty mildly.
Which is exactly why we can't use one of our agents. We have to keep the government skirts clean if anything goes wrong.
I know that.
If we're accused of entrapping Joe Cask, then the papers that he buried before he was deported won't be worth a thin dime to us. But if these papers are as hot as we think they are, we can put some of the most important mobsters in this country behind bars.
I'll do the best job I can for you, Jim.
I know that. And I want to thank you for your help. Good luck, Dad.
That afternoon, I was on a plane for England, and Operation Joe Cask, as it was unofficially known in Washington, was underway. The North Star, a 5,000-ton tramp steamer, was loading machine tools at Southampton. As Jim Hastings had predicted, Captain Rawlings suddenly found himself without a first mate.
Well, we both seem to be in luck, Mr. Sears. You need a berth and I need a mate. I'll show you to your cabin and send a man ashore for your gear.
10 days later, the North Star was in Danzig, where it had to lay over for repairs after discharging its cargo. I'd been told where I could find Joe Cask in Danzig. I had. And within a few days, Cask and First Officer Sears of the North Star had become friends. 5 years before, Joe Cask had been boss of a huge numbers game on the East Coast. Then the Treasury Department had caught up with him, and he was indicted for income tax evasion. During his trial, it was discovered he wasn't a citizen of the United States, and following his conviction, he was deported to Poland, the land of his birth.
Talk to Rawlings?
Yeah?
Well?
We go along for $5,000. $2,500 when you board the ship, another $25 when we put you ashore in the States. Don't tell me you haven't got that kind of money.
I don't, but I'll have it. My daughter's bringing it.
Your daughter?
Yes, I cabled her after I talked to you yesterday. I asked her to lend me the money. I got a telephone call from her last night. She's flying over with the dough.
We weigh anchor on Tuesday night.
She'll be here Monday.
Well, then you have nothing to worry about. You're practically on your way home.
Home.
But you'll be glad to get out of here.
Glad? You don't know, Sears. You don't know what it's been like. I was 2 years old when my people went to the States. I was just as American as the next guy. When somebody discovers my old man never took out his citizenship papers. They say that over 50 years living in America don't count. They say you're Joseph Kaskinowski. You're a Pole. And they dumped me in this place like a sack full of garbage. All because of a lousy hunk of paper. I'm an American. I'm going back where I belong. I'm going to stay there. I have to hide in a cellar for the rest of my life.
I better get back to my ship.
Who is it?
Ruth.
Ruth.
Oh, let's not pretend, Joe. You're not any happier to see me than I am to see you. I brought you the money. That's all you're interested in.
Have it your way.
You've changed.
Told you on the phone I'd been sick. It's my heart.
Well, it's nice to know you have one. Well, now what about this friend of yours?
Sears? He'll be here in a few minutes.
What do you know about him?
Sears and the captain of this tub. A guy named Rawlings will haul anybody, anywhere, anytime, as long as the price is right. And no questions asked. So stop worrying about it.
Look, it's my money you're handing over to them.
And you'll get it back double when I get back to the States.
Yes, well, that's something else we have to talk about.
What do you mean?
My price has gone up. This $5,000 is going to cost you $20,000. Oh, that must be your sailor friend. Well, do I get the $20,000, or do you tell friend Sears you're not in the mood for a boat ride after all?
He'll get the $20,000.
So you're Sears.
That's right.
I'm Ruth Evans. Evans, not Cask or Kaskanovsky. Evans. It was my mother's name.
She brought the money, Sears.
How good. We weigh anchor at 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
I'll be on board.
And so will I. Oh, I'm sailing back to the States with you, Mr. Sears.
This wasn't in the deal.
It is now. If I don't sail, Joe doesn't sail either. At least not on my money.
What are you up to?
I'm not letting you out of my sight until I get my investment back. With the agreed interest.
But I told you...
All right, stow it. As long as you're paying the freight, I guess that's the way it's going to be. But remember, Miss Evans, the North Star is not a luxury liner. This won't be any pleasure cruise.
I'll take my turn at the oars, if that's what you mean.
You may have to do that. I'll pick you up tomorrow night.
Oh, Mr. Sears. Aren't you forgetting something?
You trust me enough to give that to me now?
No.
I didn't think so. All right, look alive. Put these in there. There's more luggage down the dock. Get it. Give him a hand. All right, you're in there. You get in there and stay out of sight until we clear the harbor. Well, I told you this was no luxury liner.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Haven't you forgotten something? There's no travel now, pay later plan on this ship, lady.
Oh. There.
I'll see that you're seated at the captain's table.
Thanks. I can hardly wait.
And who is he?
What's the matter with you?
Who's the guy I just saw on deck?
Oh, you must mean Bates, Alfred Bates.
What's he doing here?
He's sailing to New York with us.
He's what?
Well, he came aboard this afternoon and said he heard we were sailing for New York.
You mean to say you sold a passage to a guy we don't even know and we've got Joe Cask aboard?
Well, he looked all right to me. I'd take money wherever I'd find it.
You know what Cask said. If any of his ex-business associates find out he's trying to get to the States, there isn't anything they wouldn't do to stop him.
So?
So how do you know this guy Bates isn't a hired gun for one of Cask's old friends?
So what do you want me to do? Throw him off?
No, we can't take that chance. Maybe he is just a guy looking for transportation. If we put him ashore, he's liable to go to the consulate and kick up some trouble. But I want Bates watched every minute between here and New York.
You want? You seem to be giving a lot of orders around here.
If I'd started giving them a little sooner, we wouldn't be worried about Bates.
I give the orders, Mr. Sears. Prepare to get underway.
So you wait till we're out at sea. Well, we can't do anything before you tell us about him.
That's right.
It doesn't make any difference to you what happens to Joe, does it? As long as you get your other $2,500.
Not the least little bit, lady. One thing you're forgetting. I would collect my other $2,500 if anything happens to Cask.
Look, are you sure the name Bates doesn't mean anything to you?
I told you I never heard of him before.
Think. Maybe...
Leave me alone.
Joe. Oh. Here.
You all right?
Leave me alone.
I'm worried about him.
About Joe or about your cut of the money he's got buried back in the States?
Since you asked, the money.
That's a pretty cold-blooded attitude.
Look who's talking.
He isn't my father.
A great father he was. He left my mother when I was 3 years old. We saw him once in a while after that, when Joe needed money. Then he became a big shot in the rackets, and that's the last we saw of him. When my mother died, Mr. Sears, we were living in a cold water flat on the east side. And Joe had a penthouse on Central Park West.
All right, so he's a bum. What good is it going to do you to keep on hating? I think he wants to be friends. He wants to make up for some of the things he did to you and your mother. Why don't you give him a chance?
To do what? Stick a knife in my back?
To tell you where he hid the money.
I can just see Joe doing that.
So can I, if you play it right. Look, if that ticker of his gives out before we get back to the States, both of us are going to be on the outside looking in. Think about it. The first week out of Danzig was quiet and routine. Ruth apparently decided to take my advice. Her attitude toward her father began to change. Maybe it would work and maybe it wouldn't. But Ruth was my only chance to get another lead on Cask's papers if anything should happen to him before he got to the States. The North Star waddled out of the Baltic and across the North Sea into the Atlantic. And by that time, I'd almost stopped worrying about Al Bates. Almost, but not quite. And then it happened.
Something wrong, Mr. Sears?
I just came on watch and found out the course had been changed.
Well,
The helmsman said you ordered the change.
that's right.
Why?
Because I asked him to. Some of Cask's friends are meeting us aboard a cruiser off the Florida coast. They got a little party arranged for him down on the Keys.
How much is he paying you?
$10,000, if it's any of your business. Why don't you take it easy, Sears? Because it's a long swim to shore. Either way.
All right, Bates, so you want Cask. Why don't you cut me in on it? Cask doesn't mean anything to me.
Doesn't he?
No, he's just a guy that wanted a boat ride and was willing to pay for it. I don't care where he goes ashore or what happens to him after he gets there, just so it's not out of my pocket. So why cut me out?
Because that's the way I want it. I don't like the way you've been throwing your weight around.
What do you intend to do about it? Dump me overboard? Nobody'd care if Cask disappeared because nobody knows he was aboard. But I signed on as first mate on this tub. You'd have a lot of explaining to do if I wasn't on it when you docked.
Smart. Too smart. Can't do business with a guy like that. He's always thinking, always figuring the angles. It's too bad.
Well, if the papers are all they want, I can tell Bates where those are.
You do that and we're both dead.
Well, can't Sears help us?
He's too busy trying to save his own skin. Look, you better get some sleep. See you in the morning.
Good night. Ruth, I don't know what caused the change the last few days, but thanks.
Good night, Joe.
Good night.
Can we do something for you?
I'd like to talk to you.
Okay. What's on your mind?
You want those papers Joe has hidden, don't you?
Guys I'm working for do.
And what happens after they get them?
You mean to you?
And to Joe.
But mostly to you.
Well, everybody else is looking out after number one. Why should I be any different?
Yeah, that's right. Why should you?
Look, I can find out from Joe where he's got those papers hidden.
So can the guys I'm working for.
How, by beating him up? They start twisting his arm and his bad heart's gonna go just like that.
Well, maybe you got a point there.
So why do it the hard way? When I can get the information for you without any trouble. If you give me a break.
Joe, too?
Well, why not? All he wants to do is get back to the States and hole up somewhere. He's old, he's sick, he's not going to give anybody any trouble. Well, how about it?
Okay.
You mean that?
Why not?
Who's on watch, Mr. Sears?
The second.
Are we holding our course, Mr. Sears?
We're holding our course.
Go. 31.
Ruth! Ruth!
Oh, Joe! Joe! Oh. I need some help. Joe's had another attack. He's on the deck outside my cabin.
Hold it, Sears. I'll handle this. Now get back in the corner. Move, mister! All right, let's go. I'll be doctor.
What are you going to do?
Make a deal with your old man? Here. Just in case she doesn't like my bedside manner. Hey, Cask. Cask, can you hear me? Good boy. See this? It's your medicine, Joe. You need it. You need it bad.
Give it to him.
Shut up. Because if you don't get it, you're gonna kick off. Now, all you gotta do to get some of those pills is tell me where you got those papers stashed. Listen, I made a promise to Ruth. I won't touch you if I find out where those papers are. Isn't that right? Tell him.
It's true, Joe. Bates and I had a talk. He promised me everything would be all right. Nothing will happen to us. If you tell him where the papers are hidden.
Keep talking.
Please, Joe. Please, you gotta tell him. It's our only chance. Please.
House in Philly. 917. Ben.
Sit down.
What are you going to do? Oh, he'll die.
Get her.
Joe!
Come on, let's go.
Joe! Joe! Joe told him where the papers were hidden. They threw the pills overboard. They killed him.
That's enough. Sit down over there. Both of you. Come on.
Deal.
What about them?
We'll talk about it later.
Sit down. You're not going anywhere. What's tickling you?
You are, Rawlings. You're so stupid I don't know whether to laugh or cry. There you sit knowing where $100,000 is stashed away, and you just sit there, willing to settle for $10,000. I bet you haven't got the $10,000 or any part of it yet, have you?
He'll get it.
How does he know he'll get it? Just on your promise? Is that all you've gotten out of this so far? Just Bates's promise? She can tell you that's no good. So could Joe Cask if Bates hadn't killed him.
You talk too much, Sears.
I have a lot to say, if Rawlings wants to hear it.
He doesn't.
Maybe he does.
Now look, Rawlings.
Shut up.
Don't you see what he's trying to do?
Well, if he doesn't, I'll explain it. I'm trying to get you to use your head. You know where Joe Cask's money is. What do you need Bates for?
Don't listen to him, Rawlings.
You better listen to me. This is your future we're talking about.
What do you mean?
Why don't you wise up? Bates here is working for some of the biggest hoodlums in the country. You think they're going to let you walk around the streets knowing they're killers?
We got a deal, Rawlings.
Joe Cask had a deal, too. Maybe you had a reason for stringing him along when you didn't know where the money was. But now you do know where it is. So we could pick it up and you can have $100,000 in your pocket. Looks like you didn't hate your father as much as you thought you did.
It wasn't any good. I guess I'm not any better. But you don't kill anybody the way he killed Joe. Look, there's something we got to get straight, Mr. Sears. If you think I'm going to tell you where Joe hid his papers and money, you're wrong.
Gonna keep it all for yourself, huh?
No! I want those men who paid Bates. There's only one way to get them. With the papers.
I mean, you're gonna turn them over to the government?
That's right. So what are you going to do about it?
I'm gonna get you back to New York just as fast as this rust bucket will go.